What's inside a diary so explosive it could shake the very foundation of the entertainment industry? Picture this: a burnt safe, recovered just hours before it was consumed by flames in Diddy's Miami mansion, holds the shocking truth. Diddy's own words, detailing crimes and secrets that could bring down some of the most powerful people in Hollywood and beyond. In a federal courtroom, the atmosphere shifts from routine to electric as the judge begins reading aloud from the infamous diary, leaving Diddy visibly shaken, his calm demeanor shattered. The final entry, dated just one day before his arrest, holds names, strategies, and chilling confessions that could change everything. Who are the figures behind the scenes? What revelations are hidden in these pages? This isn't just a trial, it's the unraveling of an empire built on power, manipulation, and fear. Stay with us as we dive into this jaw-dropping, world-shaking story. It all started with a routine day in the courtroom until the moment that would change everything. As the proceedings began, prosecutors made an unexpected announcement. They had discovered a crucial new piece of evidence. Two FBI agents wheeled in a burnt metal safe, its exterior charred and warped from the extreme heat of a fire that had ravaged Diddy's Miami mansion just hours earlier. But here's the twist: this wasn't just any fire. Prosecutors suggested the blaze might have been deliberately set, an attempt to destroy critical evidence that had been locked away in the safe. But fate had other plans. The safe had already been removed during an earlier raid, and it contained something no one saw coming: a handwritten diary, allegedly belonging to none other than Diddy himself. The very same Diddy who had appeared cool and collected throughout the trial suddenly sat upright, his expression shifting from confusion to pure shock. The lead prosecutor wasted no time revealing the diary's contents. According to the FBI, the book wasn't just a collection of random notes, but a meticulously detailed account of criminal activities spanning decades. This wasn't a witness's testimony. This wasn't hearsay. These were Diddy's own words, written in black ink, detailing his rise to power, his methods of control, and names that no one expected to see. And just like that, what had been a routine trial turned into something far bigger. The contents of this diary had the potential to bring down an entire empire. As the judge flipped open Diddy's diary, the room fell into a tense silence. What had once seemed like a routine trial now felt like a bombshell waiting to explode. This wasn't just a collection of personal notes, it was a damning account of a dark, twisted world hidden behind Diddy's empire. The diary, dating back to 1999, chronicled more than just Diddy's rise to fame. It laid bare a calculated network of power, manipulation, and exploitation that spanned decades. The earlier pages described how Diddy carefully selected and controlled artists, isolating them from supportive networks and building financial dependencies. The disturbing theme that ran throughout was the way he viewed people, not as individuals, but as assets to be leveraged. Diddy referred to these tactics as insurance policies, creating compromising situations at extravagant parties where guests were secretly recorded in vulnerable moments. These recordings weren't just for his amusement, they were leverage, tools to maintain control over people when they tried to break free. But it didn't stop there. As the pages turned, it became clear that this wasn't just a personal journal. It was a blueprint for how Diddy built his empire, not on talent alone, but on fear and coercion. Time and time again, the diary spoke of loyalty, control, and secrecy. And then, as the judge reached the final entries, it became apparent that Diddy's own words were far worse than anyone had imagined. His empire wasn't just built on music, it was built on intimidation and silence. The final entry of Diddy's diary was the moment that shifted everything in the courtroom. Dated just one day before his arrest, this last page revealed a chilling side of the music mogul that no one had anticipated. As the judge began to read aloud, the air in the courtroom grew thick with tension. The entry was raw, filled with a sense of urgency and fear. Diddy was clearly scrambling to control a situation that was spiraling out of his reach. In the haunting words, Diddy expressed his betrayal and frustration over a trusted associate who had begun talking to prosecutors, threatening to expose the very secrets that had kept him untouchable for years. Diddy's reaction was telling. He didn't seem surprised, but rather resigned to the fact that the walls around him were closing in. The diary entry painted a picture of a man who believed his empire was invincible, but now faced the very real possibility of everything collapsing. The most damning revelation in the final entry was the mention of the Protection Circle, a network of influential people Diddy relied on to protect him from legal and political fallout. Names were redacted, but it was clear that these weren't just industry insiders. They were powerful figures across entertainment, politics, and law enforcement. Diddy believed that if he went down, he would take everyone with him, an insurance policy meant to ensure loyalty and silence. It was a bombshell, and it marked the point of no return in his trial. As the final entry echoed through the courtroom, the reaction was nothing short of seismic. The words, dripping with fear and desperation, painted a picture of a man who had built his empire not on talent, but on fear, control, and manipulation. The room grew heavy with tension as the judge's voice reverberated with the chilling reality of Diddy's words. The carefully constructed facade that Diddy had maintained throughout the trial began to crumble right before everyone's eyes. Diddy, who had entered the courtroom confident and composed, was now visibly shaken. His eyes widened in disbelief as the details from his own diary were exposed, each revelation tearing away at the illusion of power he had carefully crafted. His fingers gripped the table so tightly that his knuckles turned white, a physical manifestation of his mounting panic. For the first time since the trial began, Diddy looked genuinely afraid. His usual smug demeanor evaporated, replaced with an unmasked vulnerability. As the judge continued reading, Diddy's face twisted with a mix of rage and terror. Suddenly, in a desperate outburst, he lunged toward the diary, shouting, "That's not mine! That's not mine! They're setting me up!" His voice echoed through the courtroom as his defense team tried to restrain him. The room went into chaos. The judge immediately called for order, but the damage had been done. This was no longer just about the diary. It was about Diddy's unraveling in real time. His outburst, coupled with the damning evidence, marked a major turning point in the trial. The empire he had spent decades building was beginning to collapse. With Diddy's outburst echoing in the courtroom, the diary had now transformed from a simple piece of evidence into the keystone of the entire case. The contents within these leather-bound pages weren't just the ramblings of a paranoid individual, they were a meticulously documented blueprint for a world of control, manipulation, and exploitation that spanned decades. The prosecution wasted no time in demonstrating the significance of the diary, using its shocking revelations to tie together various aspects of the case. The diary became a vital link between previous testimonies, financial records, and surveillance footage that had painted a disturbing picture of Diddy's empire. According to FBI experts, the authenticity of the diary was confirmed through handwriting analysis and forensic testing. The book itself was not just a journal, it was a roadmap of Diddy's criminal network. Entries detailed everything from blackmail schemes to the use of insurance policies, compromising recordings of industry figures captured at extravagant parties, designed to keep them under his control. One of the most troubling aspects was Diddy's repeated references to the Protection Circle, a group of powerful individuals in entertainment, politics, and law enforcement who kept his secrets safe. The diary confirmed relationships that Diddy had previously denied, proving that these powerful figures were more than just associates. They were active participants in maintaining his empire of fear. The more the prosecution read, the clearer it became. The diary didn't just document Diddy's rise to power, it showed how deeply embedded his control was within the fabric of the entertainment industry. And now, with this evidence in hand, the prosecution had the leverage they needed to bring down the empire. Diddy's composure, carefully crafted over the course of the trial, shattered as the diary's damning contents were revealed. His once calm facade, built on years of controlling his image, cracked under the weight of the accusations. As the judge finished reading the final entry, Diddy's reaction was immediate, a volatile mix of rage and panic. For a moment, it seemed as though he believed he could still control the narrative. In a desperate outburst, he lunged at the diary, shouting, "That's not mine! They're setting me up!" His frantic attempt to distance himself from the incriminating evidence was palpable, and the courtroom erupted in chaos. Security rushed to restrain him, and his defense team scrambled, caught off guard by the sudden shift in the proceedings. The judge, unshaken by the outburst, immediately revoked Diddy's bail, ordering him to remain in custody for the remainder of the trial. This was a pivotal moment. Diddy, once the untouchable mogul, now stood exposed and powerless. Outside the courtroom, the fallout was swift and far-reaching. Legal experts speculated that the diary could mark the beginning of the end for Diddy's empire. Within hours, high-profile figures in entertainment, politics, and law enforcement who had once been his allies began to distance themselves. The fallout was not just personal, it was institutional. Rumors swirled that the names sealed in the diary were triggering investigations across multiple jurisdictions, sparking a ripple effect that could dismantle entire networks of power. This wasn't just Diddy on trial anymore, it was an entire system of corruption that was now unraveling, and no one was safe from the consequences. As the diary continued to unfold in the courtroom, it became painfully clear that Diddy's actions were not isolated. They were part of a much larger, systematic network of control and silence that reached the highest echelons of power in entertainment, politics, and law enforcement. This wasn't just about one man's rise to fame. It was about a system built on manipulation, coercion, and fear, where the vulnerable were exploited and the powerful were protected. The diary served as a chilling blueprint for how Diddy maintained his influence over the industry. It detailed the use of surveillance, blackmail, and insurance policies to ensure that no one could cross him without facing severe consequences. These weren't just casual threats. Diddy had a network of loyal soldiers, people inside and outside of the entertainment world who carried out his orders without question. The most disturbing part of this network was the protection circle he described, an inner circle of influential figures who were willing to keep his secrets and ensure his dominance. These were not just business associates, but powerful players who were in on the game, using their positions to shield Diddy from the law and any public backlash. As the contents of the diary were laid bare, it became apparent that Diddy's empire was built on more than just music. It was built on a system of silencing victims, protecting predators, and creating a culture where fear reigned supreme. And now, with the diary's revelations, that wall of silence was beginning to crack, bringing with it the potential to dismantle everything Diddy had built. The diary, once thought to be nothing more than a hidden artifact, has now become the explosive centerpiece of Diddy's trial, and possibly the catalyst for the unraveling of an empire built on control, fear, and manipulation. What began as a personal account has morphed into a damning roadmap of an entire system of power and secrecy, implicating not just Diddy, but a network of influential figures in entertainment, politics, and law enforcement. As the walls close in around him, the question now isn't just whether Diddy will face justice, it's how far this scandal will reach. The story is far from over, and with each new revelation, we're only beginning to understand the full scope of what's been hidden for so long. Make sure to stay updated on this unprecedented case by liking this video and subscribing to our channel. The truth is coming out, and we'll be here to bring it to you as it unfolds.